Andrea Kauffman.
I'm Bruce Klauber.
And together we're the authors of Let Me Be Frank, The Extraordinary Life and Music of Frank Sinatra Jr.
We have returned to discuss some of what is in the book and some of what's not in the book. As I go through the book now, I realize you don't really come in until 1985, which is the fateful year when you met, which we'll go into at another time. But after 3 years, 85 to 88, you had built up a pretty good thing for Frankie after he was working Holiday Inns pretty far out on the circuit. He was doing pretty well.
Appearing Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
They would get the name wrong. And that was actually much later in his career than 85. I was partners in a talent agency, and we provided entertainment to all the casinos in Atlantic City. Dan Mulhern was my partner, and we worked hard. We had children, young children. I didn't even have my son yet. And I just believed in Frank. There was something about how he approached me, what he said to me when I first met him, how things kind of just organically developed that made me feel like I wanted to take a chance. And my husband, who was a singer in Atlantic City, was really just getting started, but I could already tell his momentum was just going to keep growing. The audiences loved him. The buyers loved him. He was working all the time. So I kind of felt that if I was going to take a chance and do this, I had to do it now. And I just started to get him dates so that I could put $2,500 away that month and, $1,700 away that month. And we are at one of the casinos in Atlantic City, and the phone rings. And it's Dorothy who tells Frankie that his father wants to talk to him. We excuse ourselves and go into the living room. And he comes out and he's almost in tears, but his eyes are like a deer caught in the headlights. His eyes are gigantic. He says, "Well, you're not going to believe this one. Pop wants me to conduct for him."
Now this first, I must backpedal a second before I go into the next question regarding your agency just at the time when you met Frankie. As somebody who has been a part of the Atlantic City entertainment scene for quite some time myself as a performer, if you wanted to get booked in Atlantic City, you went to Andrea Kauffman. It was the best of the best of the best. The jazz people that you booked at the Nugget and the Claridge. It was a real, if this city ever had a golden age, that was it. And I hold you responsible. So where am I?
Not solely, I hope.
So where am I working tomorrow night?
Yeah, right.
But the question is, when he got the call, and by the way, everybody and his brother has claimed they were in that room when the call came.
He called everybody after the call came. So I guess they want to...
But I mean, even, rest his soul, Sid Mark said he was in the room.
Sid Mark was not in the room. God bless him.
In any case, you were building this up for him beautifully. And then all of a sudden, decisions had to be made because he's going to conduct for his father. This has got to impact what you've built up. How was this juggled? How did it work?
He was able to take Mike Smith with him and put him on the bandstand with his father. Couldn't take me with him. He couldn't take them all, and he certainly couldn't take our drummer, which was one of his dear friends of 40 years. And my first reaction, and I'm very proud of myself for this, was, yay, Frankie. I was like so happy for him. And then I immediately thought to myself, damn, what do I do now? How long is this going to last? And what do I do on the dates that I haven't booked? And I thought, I have to have this conversation with him because I have to know how to proceed. Do I keep booking him? Do I stop? Did I just screw up my agency and break up my partnership with Dan for this? Well, interestingly enough, and I haven't mentioned this in the book, and I haven't mentioned this ever until just this minute because I just remembered. We had a conversation alone, and he said, I don't know what I'm getting paid yet, but I'll give you $500 a show, and that should help you. That's nothing I was going to take, nor would I do. That's not what I was managing him for or booking him for. So he said, let me talk to my old man and see how we're going to do this. In the meantime, call Elliot and get my father's schedule and see what dates conflict.
Now, Elliot Weissman was Frank Sinatra Sr.'s manager.
Yes. There were 3 dates, but I needed those 3 dates. They were important. They were casinos that were not in Atlantic City, but they were casinos that were important. His father calls. Dorothy always, I loved her, always made the call and then put Mr. S on. And he said, I can get booked anywhere. If they want me on Tuesday, they'll take me on Thursday. He says, but with Frankie, you keep everything you have. I'll move my dates.
What did that tell you about Senior?
About Senior?
Yes.
That he knew his worth and that he knew that it didn't matter. I know what you're baiting me to say. Isn't that nice? Didn't he love his son?
Yes, that's what I'm baiting you to do.
I can't, because I think he did. I think he knew that Frank was a talented man, but he never wanted Frank to go into this business. So in my mind, because I knew this, I'm thinking, does he want to take him off the stage singing? Because he'll just be conducting, or as Frankie would always say, he'll just be making pizza every night. That was the cynicism in me. I think it said, my son's a talented man and I'm going to use that talent. But I also think it's like, they'll take me anytime I'm Sinatra, so don't worry about it.
Well, let me discuss this, which we have not discussed. When this happened, and this was a major event in the music industry for Sinatra fans of Frankie, he's going to conduct for his father, the party line was that no one understands a singer better than a fellow singer. What better conductor can there be than a fellow singer? That was the party line. Others have said that he was there in part to have a family member on hand with his father.
For what reason?
The talk was that Mr. S was getting a little shaky at times and maybe needed somebody on his side. I don't know how much truth there was.
He had such a team. He had so many people around him. The reason for this was because Bill Miller could not keep getting up to conduct the strings or the horns when there was a line that had to come in or when they had to get out.
Yeah.
He couldn't do it anymore. He was in his 80s. Not because the old man couldn't do it anymore, because Bill couldn't do it anymore. And even though, like in One for My Baby, where, or is it Angel Eyes, I forget, where he's playing and the strings come in, he can't get up because he's playing this magnificent piece. And all he does is bob his head. Everybody had to look, they would light the back of his white head so people could see him bob his head. But he couldn't stand up anymore to conduct. That was the reason. So all the other rumors about the old man not being able, yeah, he was getting shaky, he was getting older. But was anybody afraid he'd fall down? He had 20 people walking him out on stage if he wanted them. Jilly was with him.
Yeah.
Up until, Jilly passed. But no, that wasn't the reason. The reason was he needed somebody who knew the music as well as he knew the music.
Well, let's talk about the respect angle. We know how much Frankie worshipped his father's artistry.
Sure.
But there is a story that you have told that was indicative, once and for all, the respect that his father had for the son. And I think this happened during the, was it the eclipse in Vegas?
The total eclipse in Vegas. Frankie was in the lounge at Desert Inn, and Sinatra was in the showroom in Desert Inn. And we decided, his father said, hey, come over and see. He did 2 shows then. Come over and see my late show, the last show. He was only doing 2 shows, but they were kind of late. Frankie did his, and he said to Vinny and I, Vinny at that time was his manager, and said to Vinny, come on, let's go see my old man. He wants us to be there, we should go. I'm happier than I could possibly be. This is great. We're at the old man's table where Barbara and Don Rickles are sitting. Steve Lawrence and Edie Gourmet are sitting. I forget who else was at the table, but it was like the who's who of his friends.
Were his daughters there?
No.
Okay.
And he's doing a killer show. And then he introduces soliloquy. And he says, for those of you that have daughters, you know how important they are. You know you'll do anything to protect them. You know that they're the most important part of your heart there is. I'm sitting next to Frankie, and he's talking about his daughters. But he sings soliloquy, knocks it out of the park. It's amazing. And I could just tell as things are winding down, because I think he has 1 or 2 more songs and then he's finished. The old man introduced everybody up until then. He introduced even Edie, introduced Don Rickles, everybody. Never said anything about Frankie. I'm not waiting for him to say, and there's my, son's new agent and manager. But he didn't introduce Frankie. So he does this whole thing with soliloquy about the daughters, finishes the song, gets a standing ovation. He goes like this for everybody. And he somehow got the whole audience to be quiet. He says, now I'm going to introduce you to somebody. And he said it so low, so sincerely, so without a show business bent, if you know what I mean. There was no, and now I'm going to introduce you to. It wasn't like that. It was beautiful. He said, now I'm going to introduce you to somebody who knows more, who taught me more about music and doesn't know it. My son, Frankie. And with that, Frank gets up, takes a bow, sits down, grabs my hand, and literally puts his nails in my palm because he doesn't know what to do with this emotion. This isn't something he's used to feeling or getting from his dad. This was before he was, conducting for him.
Yes.
And, I could see him put his head back to get his tears to roll back so they wouldn't come out. And Vinny just looks past them. He was between me and Vinny. He just looks past him and he goes like this. But the ending to the night was the best. Frank would go stand by the exit after the show at Desert Inn or Four Queens, wherever he was in Las Vegas. And he was selling these little cards, all the best, Frank Sinatra Jr. And people would come up to him, and Vinny said, I want you to stand with him. I just want you to hear what the people say. Your show was great, Frankie, but I saw your dad in 1941. Or, what a great show, Frankie. But man, your father in Chicago a few years back, knocked it out of the park. That kind of thing. So we go backstage. Vinny walks in, Frankie walks in, I'm last to walk in. And I go up to Mr. S and I said, that was a great show, Mr. S. And everybody's like looking at me, what is she going to do? And I said, but you should have seen Frankie's show last night. He knocked it out of the park. It was fabulous. And he got hysterical. So that was one of the finest hours I've ever spent with Frank. My Frankie, to see his father recognize him that way. And that's kind of when I knew that he knew Frank was talented.
Let's just talk for a moment, and then we can close out this segment, about the value of, let's see, he conducted from 88 to 94.
Right.
Because Mr. S's last public appearance was in 95, a very brief appearance.
That was a celebrity golf tournament.
Yes. I think it was for Barbara Sinatra. For the
it's their fundraiser. Mm-hmm.
In my view, his time conducting for his father brought him even closer to the music than he was, if that was possible, because he was close to that music, but specifically closer to the arrangements. That's what we used to talk about, myself and Frankie, was the arrangers. Nelson Riddle, Costa, even Billy Byers, Gordon Jenkins. Stortle, everything. The difference between this one and that one. Maybe I was one of the few people other than the guys in his band who could talk about the fourth trombone part.
Well, that's why he adored you, because you were a musician and you had so much musical knowledge.
Well, that's worth the price of admission for me. But he was closer to the music, but in terms of you as the person who was booking him, I would have to say that association gave him credibility that he might not have had. In terms of, hey, there they are.
I'm not sure that the Byers gave him the credibility because he was on stage conducting Sinatra. I don't think they understood it. The fans.
Yeah.
That was credibility for him with the fans. They went, if he can conduct Sinatra, oh my God, he must know something that we don't know. When he came off of that 6-year stint, 5.5-year stint, and the old man was not working that much after that.
No.
It was a very interesting time because his ticket sales, even though the show wasn't very different, his ticket sales were much bigger. And that was very interesting. But the one thing that, and I don't know if it's in Elliot's book or not, I would get a call every once in a while. And it would be Elliot asking me, and we didn't discuss this in the book, in Elliot fashion, what the hell is he asking the old man to sing? And I said, I'm not there, I don't know. I only went to a few shows. Well, Frank would pull out some obscure music.
Yes.
Or like Violets for Your Furs, which Frank with Mr. S, did not do often in a casino setting. And have him, and rehearse it, and have him sing it. And when he was asked why he's doing this, when the audience really doesn't care about certain songs, he said, to keep my father mentally alert and healthy and frosty on the music. And that's why he did it. So he was, towards the end, really it was a balancing act of and possibly that speaks to your point about having family on the road, but not in the beginning. That's not what it was for in the beginning. Towards the end, I think Frank realized my dad's failing. He should stop soon.
You know, I just have to say this. You brought up violets for your furs. I discussed that with Frankie.
Did you really?
He brought up that tune. He says, I forget where we were.
You've never mentioned that to me.
No, I didn't. You just brought it up. He said, do you know the verse? I said, it was winter in Manhattan, falling snowflakes filled the air. He says, that's enough. And I think
keep your day gig.
Yes, I think with that, Andrea, let's tell the people that we have a lot more of these to come. And thanks for watching.